By the way, the Trump administration is not backing down. This is a master class in how we always should have been dealing with the left.
This is the guy who thinks people don't deserve law and order in their own community.
Perfect.
For too long,
oh, my boy.
99% of this city has been terrorized by 1% of this city. And the voices that you hear out there, those crazy communists, they have no roots. They have no connections to the city. They have no families they are raising in this city. They have no one that they are sending to school in this city. They have no jobs in this city. They have no connections to this community at all. Most of the citizens who live in Washington, D.C. are black. This is not a city that has had any safety for its black citizens for generations. So we're going to ignore these stupid white hippies that all need to go home and take a nap because they're all
MVP
over
right
90
there.
years old, and we're going to get back to the business of protecting the American people and the citizens of Washington, D.C.
The stupid white hippies that are always. Oh, excuse me. Hold on a second. The AC was on, and now I dropped something. Hold on. There we go. Yeah, and that joke completely fell on its face, but I'm going to say it anyway because the stupid white hippies just screwed me up, just like they screwed up Washington, D.C. Ah, there we go. That works. Sorry, I almost had I kind of had a brain freeze. I was eating a Italian ice cream, and I had to eat it kind of fast to finish it before the show. How is everybody doing on this Sunday evening? Because I was planning to do this yesterday instead of today, I am going to just state right away I'm going to be not streaming tomorrow so that I can finish up the things I was supposed to do today because everything got pushed back. But I wanted to do this now while it was still timely so that it wasn't going to, because to be honest, I'm feeling it. I know a lot of people out there are feeling it. And to be honest, it's not to be like, because I know I'm kind of late to the party. I started, the time I was not doing the stream for a while was right in the middle of all this stuff that was going on, and essentially I was late to all of this stuff, but because it was such a big event with Charlie Kirk's assassination and all the events that came afterwards, I'd been wanting to come back and do a show for such a long time, and I pretty much was like, okay, you're going to come back sometime soon. So better be soon, and it just happened to be right about now. So, but at the same time, it's been going on for over a week now, and to be honest, I think it doesn't mean I'm not going to mention anything that's prudent information or anything new that comes out that's important, but I'm going to try not to have everything focus around just that because while it's still pretty fresh in everyone's mind, I think, to be honest, everybody is falling into a pretty deep state of depression, I'm sure. I mean, it's rough. I can't imagine what it is like for his wife and kids and the rest of his family. I don't want to even, but I can't even imagine that. But to be honest, you know me, I'm usually not super serious about the subjects that I cover, and I try to keep things upbeat unless it's something that really gets under my skin and I have to get upset about it. But I try to keep things a little bit more lighthearted, but this was obviously something that I can't. It's going to be a little bit more of that today because, quite honestly, the people that we're going to be talking about for the most part are people that deserve it. But after that, in the next few shows upcoming, I'm going to try to talk about, it might be even some older stuff that I haven't been able to cover because I was away for so long, but I'm going to just try to move away from just only talking about something that's so heavy all the time. Like, and I know that you'll still be able to get information about any kind of new things that are going on, but unless there's something breaking in, like as far as the charges against him or anything with a case that they are bringing, the only thing that was the last information that came out was that they will seek the death penalty, which was I was glad to hear. I'm not usually really a strong advocate of the death penalty. I'm not somebody who has a strong, which might sound weird. I'm not somebody that, and I think it's because of my kind of ambivalence on the subject. I can't come down on it one way or another. It's such a complex discussion, and on the one side it's taking someone's life, and on the other side it's taking someone's life. It's it's the same thing, but in this case it was kind of easy for me to go, yeah, that I have no objection to it. But yeah, as far as anything new that's coming out there, I'll probably leave it to other people, because it seems like it's mostly just come down to information that's just kind of slowly dropping. But if, like I said, if there's anything important that comes out, we'll talk about it. That's anything really major that comes out, we'll talk about it. But there's been so much other stuff I haven't talked about. A lot of stuff that's been going on lately, and I would love to get into those things. But for this one last episode, we'll get into the things that were left over from the last one, because the last one was the broad strokes of the situation, and mostly looking over sort of the conditions and the people who are on the left that are just general population sorts of people, social media, and just any kind of bigger name content creators that were talking about the subject, except for a couple. And there's a reason for that, but real quick first, there was one hangover from last time I talked about this, and it was one of the first people I mentioned, because I even said right off the bat that I've talked about him before, and I know I've said before that I really disagree with him on a lot, and I do, but I will say this, and I said this last time too, he's got one of the best responses to the whole situation that I've heard. Him and Steven Crowder have been, especially I watched something recently with Steven Crowder and Andrew Wilson, another guy who I wasn't as kind of not had a lot of disagreement with Andrew Wilson. I just wasn't because he's such a heavy debate kind of style guy. I'm not a big debate viewer. I will watch a big high profile debate, but I'm not somebody that really is super interested in debates all the time. I'm more into interesting personalities delivering more current information. But Nick Fuentes, as I've said before, disagree with him on a lot, and I know he's an incredibly polarizing figure, and for good reason. And I think that from what I've heard of him, here's where it's hard for me to reconcile, because there's things that I have heard about him that I was kind of surprised to hear, but at the same time, when I heard them, it was after this situation where he had gotten into this spat with this guy, and he came out looking really, really bad after it, to be honest. But yeah, I think that that guy, because it's been a few years ago now when that went down, and whatever's happened to him since then till now, he seems to have really grounded himself a little bit more. It doesn't mean his opinions have changed, but he's not the same type of extremely antagonistic sort of sounding guy. I know a lot of what he says is going to piss everybody off regardless, but I got the vibe that there was a far more serious, and I'll say it like this: it was way more mature than a lot of the sort of things I've heard from him before, and that's kind of one of the areas where I kind of had a little bit of kind of turned off to his content, honestly, because he always kind of presented himself as this really mature, sophisticated guy, but he just sounded like a real, just a kind of, what would be the word, like a egocentric dick, really. I mean, that's really the best way I could put it. And the other thing is that I'll just mention this right off the bat. The thing that really surprised me is that if you don't know about this, this has been hinted at. I don't know if a lot of people know the whole situation. And now, granted, I don't know the whole thing. All I know is it happened at Charlie Kirk's event in, I think, around early part of Trump's presidency, I believe, the first term. And Charlie Kirk was having an event, and so if you heard, I'm sure this is the first time I've heard Groyper talked about in the media over and over and over and over and over again, because they were trying to pin the shooting on a guy who was apparently which was one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. They'd actually try to pin. I can guarantee you, Nick Fuentes is not a kind of guy who would have one of the Groypers being some dorky kid who has a transgender boyfriend / girlfriend who's a fur fag that freaking is, running around in discords and trying to talk about how toxic and hateful Charlie Kirk is. No, that wouldn't be it, because to Nick, Charlie was not right enough. Like he's one of the I wouldn't say he's an alt-right guy, but he was kind of borderline there. And the thing is that a lot of his it's like with any other real deep red figure, he's going to be so polarized to the point that you're not going to really even know the things that are true and the things that aren't, because the people on the right aren't going to want to have anything to do with them, and the people on the left are going to demonize them to the point of, they do this to Charlie Kirk, let alone Nick Fuentes. That they're going to completely and totally, what's the word? Misinterpret what he said, or misquote what he said, or just misrepresent what he said, and use it out of context and take it and put it into the way that they can make it sound the worst it can possibly sound. So I take nothing that anyone, not just the mainstream media, but anyone on the left, period, would say about someone like Nick Fuentes. I do know that one other way he was controversial to the right was that he originally had a company he called America First, and to people that were, big fans of President Trump, they didn't like the fact that he was kind of co-opting the name and using it for his own group, and it was kind of a weird, because it wasn't associated with President Trump in any way. It was Nick's company. But I will say this, to in all fairness to the guy, I have always respected the fact that he started out young, like Charlie Kirk. He built his own company like Charlie Kirk when he was really young. And he's had very, very big success in everything he's done. He's had to do it pretty much all by himself, and a few people in his inner circle that are closer to him, like Charlie Kirk. Although, in his case, he's kind of been more antagonistic, and that's where a lot of my dislike of the guy came from, was from former people that worked for him talking about things that happened with him. But, he started out young, really young, just like Charlie Kirk did, so I can provide some grace in terms of like a time of, you're young. You're going to be, even if you're right, you're going to present it in such a smug way that it's going to sound like you're coming off as this arrogant sort of really antagonistic prick, and it's going to turn a lot of people off. But anyway, to go back to the thing, so Groypers, this is where the whole feud thing comes from. Nick and his fan base found out about a big event that Turning Point USA was having. I don't know where it was, but I do know it was at a big indoor sort of, um, I don't know if it like the hotels, events room or whatever they call it. And Charlie's Charlie's company had people there that were watching the event, but Nick and his group came in and essentially went around harassing staff, harassing some of the speakers, going to the mics and asking ridiculous questions, and they just they made their presence known. They trolled everybody at the event, and eventually they got thrown out. And it was a really big antagonism between the two for a while because of that. And the whole event Nick had referred to as Groiper Wars. And so just to kind of give you an idea of the kind of LARPing that we're talking about, that's what we're talking about. We're not talking about anything that was like, some serious ideological hatred, which there was a huge difference in ideology between the two. But that event was the peak of when there was like beef between the two. And in terms of that versus getting shot, I'd say it's fairly tame. And not once did Nick ever say he wanted to kill Charlie Kirk. Not once did anyone associated with Nick Fuentes or any of his channels or any of his actual close co-workers or friends, anybody like that, ever say anything like trying to do harm to Charlie Kirk. Nothing like that. And so it got blown out of proportion. And I will also say that another reason why this was so impactful wasn't that Nick was so right about what he said in so many of these cases, but also that that for someone like that who had all that beef with Charlie Kirk to go on and have a response like this is, I mean, I have to give him the respect he deserves. He gave a very, very honorable and appropriate response to the situation and to Charlie's memory and to the respect that he deserved as a fellow American, fellow conservative, and despite their issues, they are both very influential within those circles. So I think he wanted to make sure that not only did he do that, but he was also, like Steven has been doing, making sure that everyone really recognizes, like people on the left have shown you that there's no boundaries for these people. There's nothing they're not going to do. They hold nothing sacred. They hold nothing. Nothing to be worth even attempting to find some sort of common ground on or some kind of reconciliation on. They care, as I said in the last episode, about one thing, and that's getting power back. They care only and entirely about getting some center of power back, and that's why, like I said last time as well, this can't. I swear, midterms come around next year. I want everyone to remember this event, especially, and remember the reasoning why being that these people are dying to get back at least the House so that they can waste President Trump's second half of his term and throw hearings for impeachment and throw constant hearing after hearing after hearing with witness after witness after witness that has nothing but just slander and negativity and a bunch of BS that they're going to be lying through their teeth about. They're not going to be talking about anything honest. Even if there's a hint of honesty in it, it's going to be so embellished or so taken from its context and treated like something that is almost the complete opposite, that there's not one reason anyone should be forced to listen to it, and yet they're going to do that for no other reason other than to constantly keep berating this guy because right now they can't stand. They can, you know what happened today, and I was so proud to hear this. Antifa was, I think it was a couple days ago actually, but I heard the news today that Trump was announcing he was labeling Antifa a terrorist organization, and I was like, yes, thank you. Oh, we needed this so bad. Those little black bloc LARPing faggots all are gonna get exactly. I swear, I'm so, and I don't even care. They're a bunch of thugs. They're a bunch of left-wing cowards. They have nothing to bring when anyone fights back. They're all a bunch of, completely. Well, this is how it was put by if one guy I respect the hell out of, I've talked about before, Mr. Medicers, has described them like this. If you have a toddler who is out of control and, throwing things around, throwing things around and just destroying all your stuff and just causing a mess and making a really difficult situation everywhere. Now that toddler is not like a serious threat on his own, but if there's no one around to stop him, or the people around refuse to stop him because of some reason, like, well, yes, but I mean, he's got a good point, or he's usually a good kid, or he's usually, if they make excuses, they make reasons why, just let him vent, he'll feel better afterward, anything like that. If that's allowed to happen, then you have a problem on your hands. And that's Antifa. They are inherently a bunch of little bitchy cowards that can't do anything on their own unless they get enough of a mob there to, as Andy No described in the last episode, surround you and beat the hell out of you. But when someone finally fights back and puts them in their place, they really aren't able to do much because they don't have much to bring. Unless, I mean, they do sometimes, of course, bring some pretty bad weapons. But, I mean, I've seen some people that just are so pumped up on adrenaline from the other side that they don't give a shit. They'll march right through it and still knock them on their ass. So that's kind of, and I thought that was a pretty good analogy because really, actually, when you do see these guys, they think they are so much more intimidating than they actually are. They run around in their little black masks with their little black clothes, and you can tell they're skinnier than I am, and they look like they probably got beat up their entire life, and they are running around like this because they think that, oh, we're going to fight against the fascists. No, you're fighting because you have no self-worth, and you are trying to take your anger out on anybody else because you have never spent a second looking in the mirror. That's what you're doing. So anyway, to label them a terrorist organization is exactly what you have, because one other thing that was mentioned that in the Medicare discussion about this that I thought was another interesting point was he was debating a guy who was an older sort of blogger guy, and he considers himself part of Antifa, but he's not really like an active member. He just kind of writes about their activities, but he's also somebody really familiar with the history of the group. And one thing he mentioned was that in Europe especially, there was it's a lot more of a organized structural group there, and that is true, and that's for better or for worse, obviously. But at the same time, when you look at Europe and you compare it to America as well, there's no conservative party per se in many European countries. And even if there is, if you compare it to the American right, they're not even close. Like they have nowhere near the conviction or the sort of depth of belief and the sincerity of belief in something. Like they kind of identify there because it's the only place they fit, and so it's not really like at all as strong of a cause as it is in Europe. So in Europe they have all the other parties, and then there's a small group of people who are a lot closer to like an extreme alt-right or just flat out neo-Nazis. And so you could argue that, yeah, there's more of a reason. Now, this is not a cover for Antifa, because I don't think that they are I don't think in any case they are a good organization, but I will say that I can at least understand why it exists there. But the important part that was mentioned was that the length of time they've had to, that they've existed, and how they've been able to go about conducting their sort of protests, conducting their membership, conducting all that. Whereas in America, it's a very new thing. It mostly started online because it started in this, in the digital era, and it was described like this, and I loved this line. It's like a franchisee that's trying to make the grade, but is just like nowhere near the level of the original establishment, and that's probably a good overall summary of Antifa in America. They are a carbon copy of the original in a very faint black form. Like they don't even come close to the actual sort of image of the original idea of Antifa. But the funny part is the people that promote it here are usually like, and we'll be discussing, some of that today, but they really are like for socialists or communists or whatever the hell they believe in. They sure love that Twitch money. Oh boy, do they ever love those Twitch dollars rolling in. And so they have no problem with the capitalist society when it comes to that. But yeah, no, when it's Elon or people like that, oh no, there's too many billionaires. We shouldn't even have billionaires in this country. Same thing with Bernie Sanders, though. As soon as he made a million, it was millionaires and billion. I've talked about that before, but anyway, but yeah. So I've gone on too long. Let's get into the video clip. So we'll go with the because I promised this last time. We'll go into the Nick Fuentes clip first, and then we'll get into the three shameful individuals of the day. So let's let me get started on this, and I'll find. This clip should be here. Actually, I know everything's here this time, so there won't be any problem, at least knowing where to go. So, yeah, here we go. Okay. Oh, whoops. Oh, never mind. Another great thing Nick does in this clip too is he doesn't limit it only to Charlie. He talks about several other events that were violent recently. They were all perpetrated by the left and all defended by the left, and they all came up with excuse after excuse after excuse, and then finally had to sort of cave and say, except for in the one of Luigi Mangione, they're all still. In fact, Crystal Ball, Kyle Kalinski's freaking boyfriend, who he's the cuck for, because she's got kids from another guy that he's taking care of, and his little blonde tips for his hair. That guy's such a queef. Yes, he's a queef. I'm sorry. Anyway, she came out and said something about how Charlie Kirk's killer, he's not as good looking as Luigi Mangione, though. So I was like, you fucking bitch. Wow, that's where I'm sure that's where your head's at. Where else would your head be at? You don't have much of a head to be put anywhere, but I'm sure that's where it's at. Anyway, sorry, that brought annoys the hell out of me. She is such a smug. Oh, jeez. Anyway, so yeah, this was, I think, the day after Charlie was killed. So this was like, really fresh in his mind. But like I said, it's aged very well since then, and serious respect to Nick Fuentes for this take. So without further ado, let's get into this.
And like the attack on Charlie Kirk yesterday, the attack by Luigi Mangione was another chain reaction. In that moment, we saw a young man kill a father, a husband, another innocent. Once again, people say he worked for some company, he worked for an evil industry. Shot in cold blood, no trial, no charge. His life was not Luigi Mangione's to take.
Hold on just a second. I'm hearing echo, so hold on. Let me see what's going on. Is that one? No. It's gotta be this one. That might be wrong. Hold on. Let me just see.
And
no, that wasn't it. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. Hold on. I think. Oh. Wait a minute. Okay, hold on just a second. Something's weird on here. Oh, I know why. I'm sorry. Hold on. I have some goofy settings here on OBS. Let me fix that. Yeah, that was it. Okay. What did he set to yesterday? Oh. Yeah. Here, wait. No. Okay, I think this should work. I'm sorry, guys. I should have checked this. But, well, actually, I had no idea this was going to come up. So, okay, let me see if this works. Hold on. Sorry. I don't even have to close this anymore. I could just leave this up. Go back a little bit because I was going to... Okay, let's make sure that this works. Oh, did I turn that back on? Yeah, I did. Okay.
husband, another innocent. Once again, people say he worked for some company, he worked for an evil industry. Shot in cold blood, no trial, no charge. His life was not Luigi Mangione's.
I'm sorry, guys. This is really weird, but okay, I'll just do it this way. I know this will work, so I'll just do it this way and just make sure that everybody can hear it. Here, we'll... Okay. Okay. Let me know if this sounds weird, but this should be good this time. Oh, I could do this too, actually. Wait, hold on. Why didn't I just do this? Oh, because it is. That's weird. Well, anyway, this should be fine. Let's just...
to take.
There we go.
And for some reason, this divided the country. There were millions of people that said he was a hero, treated him like a sex icon, a champion. They made T-shirts.
They still do.
They celebrated. Is anybody surprised now that you have incidents like this? Is anybody the least bit surprised? In a culture where mass murder and murder is celebrated, people cheer it on, they lionize cowardly assassins and killers. Is anybody the least bit surprised that it inspired a copycat? It inspired another? It shouldn't come as a surprise. But there's other echoes of the violence that we saw yesterday.
Yes.
We saw it imminently just the other week when that young girl, the Ukrainian refugee, was stabbed to death on the train.
Irina Zarutska, and if you guys just real quick remember, they didn't want to talk about that one. Oh, they really didn't want to talk about that one. And if you notice now, even though the whole thing with Charlie Kirk was a freaking disaster, they really don't want to talk about Irina Zarutska because there's not really any kind of way you could talk about that and have it make them look like anything but fucking scumbags if they tried to defend that piece of shit. But yeah, they just dropped that story. They haven't talked about that at all since that happened, and it's interesting that they moved on from that. So, but you know, once again, it was a black guy, so that doesn't fit what they want to talk about. He used a knife and not a gun. That's really something they don't want to talk about. And it was a refugee from, not Iran, Ukraine, a Ukrainian refugee. They really don't want to talk about that. It just ticked too many boxes. So let's talk about Charlie Kirk, because he was really, he had views that people thought were really, really despicable. So I get, fuck off. But that's not the only example. We keep going.
We saw it when Austin Metcalf was stabbed in the throat.
The heart.
At a football practice. We see it in Gaza.
They made excuses
for years. When innocent people are shot in the back of the head getting food for their children because they're starving. The weight of the suffering, the cruelty, the malice, the hatred, it's becoming too much to bear. I think that's the real reason. Because we've seen violence before. We've seen horrible atrocities before. We've seen school shootings, terrorist attacks. But we all recognize we live in a time of nihilistic violence.
Absolutely.
These people that are now selling T-shirts with Charlie Kirk and a bullet wound in his neck, they cannot be negotiated with.
That's the key point of Nick's video. But real quick, if you haven't seen these, this is just like, this is where I was like, okay, this is devil bullshit. This is demonic shit. This is like, this is past the point where there's any reason to believe that talking to these people will do any good. And we're just going to have to, make sure that, as Steven Crowder says, make damn sure that you keep yourself protected, and you make sure that if you need to stop someone from carrying out something threatening, you do it and protect the people around you, and be damned with these fucking cowards that would do shit like this. Because when you see a T-shirt that says "Debate this" with a picture of Charlie with his neck blown out, does that sound like they want to talk? Does that sound like they want to debate? Doesn't sound like it to me. It sounds like they're having a good old time. Until they get fired, of course, and then they start crying like they're the victim. Fuck these people.
You cannot debate with them.
Or as Nick says, people.
You cannot persuade them to vote Republican. You cannot appeal to them. You will never convince them that you're a good person, that you just want the best for everybody. You will never get them to stop hating you. People like to say, well, can the left finally admit that they have their own problem? They'll never admit that. They'll never admit that.
It's been absolutely clear.
These craven losers, that person that when Charlie Kirk got shot in the neck, instinctually got up and turned and celebrated, they have to be defeated. We can't change their minds. We can't invite them to change our minds. We can't negotiate with them. We can't invite them for a political compromise. If your gut reaction to seeing someone take a bullet in the neck and their face explode, and their young children run up to them because they were afraid of the noise, if your reaction was to grin and celebrate, you must be defeated. You must be destroyed. You must be identified, you must be isolated, and you must be eradicated from our society. Not Democrats, not leftists, not liberals, those people that would celebrate.
Yes, absolutely.
In that moment, that is pure evil, pure malice. There is no charity in a person's heart. I don't care who it is, who sees anybody get their neck exploded and celebrate like that. That's the kind of evil we're dealing with. That's the kind of evil that has taken over our society. It has become too common. People have let it fester.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Luigi Mangione, they thought it was cute. They thought it was glib. And look at what we have now.
I have to say, that was really the first real serious warning sign. There's been warning signs. The Trump one was the first. I said that last time. But I think Luigi Mangione was really where we had the first real clear sign that something's really off with this party. Taylor Lorenz interview should have been a serious wake-up call for everybody that, okay, you could do a lot of things and be given a sort of like kind of sideways look, like, what, did they really just say that? And kind of, I don't know, maybe they meant something weird, There's a certain degree you can grant people like a sort of, like, I don't know, maybe it's just a weird passing comment or something. But that wasn't one of those moments. That was one of those times where everyone should have looked around that had any kind of sense of civility or morality or anything and been like, okay, when you can, I mean, we've seen this before with Ted Bundy, with Richard Ramirez. There were fan clubs for serial killers in the trials that would show up. These girls that would sit in the front, they would stare at them and try and get their attention. They'd wave at them. We've seen this before. It's bizarre as hell, but it's a sign of either a deep sociopath or some sort of complete and total mental disassociation from reality, because you're staring at a cold-blooded murderer, and all you see is a cute guy, good-looking guy. Yeah, he's a good-looking guy, all right. And the craziest part, especially with Ted Bundy, was like, you're the kind of person he would have loved to have taken out into the woods, raped a bunch of times, murdered, and gone back and raped your corpse, right? You recognize that? Do you actually, have you been paying attention or no? No, you just look at the guy and you think he's so cute. How fucking brain dead are you? But there we are. So with Luigi, and it, unfortunately in that case, it bleeds into the whole ridiculous fucking healthcare argument. Everyone deserves healthcare in the country. Oh, these people are they're just evil capitalists. They don't care. And no, we care, all right. What we care about is that we're about to go bankrupt, and you guys are all of a sudden now want to spend money from Medicare for all. Yay! Oh, okay. All right, let's bankrupt the country faster. Yeah, great idea. Well, we spend too much on military. The military takes up about 20% of the budget, maybe. We could eliminate all the military funding. We'd still be spending more on the fucking interest than the debt. So, okay, what else? You're going to have to cut back some entitlements, but every time that happens, you get pissed. Trump's trying to take away this. Well, sorry, but you guys advocated, yes, with every single social welfare program and every single goddamn freaking handout we could get. And yeah, sometimes those things are nice. Yeah, I got a check, put some extra money I didn't expect. That's fine, but when you advocate handout after handout after handout after handout, and you don't think there's going to be some financial issues with that, oh, and also, by the way, tax the rich, that's not going to help. That's not going to work either. I guarantee you, just watch one floor speech from David Schweikert. He's been talking about this for years now. And he's trying to be raising the alarm bells for how badly we are screwed for a long time. And he'll do a 1 hour long floor speech after hours in the Senate or in the House chambers, and he'll have chart after chart after chart after chart of every situation that has led us to this point and what kind of hole we're actually in, and nobody listens. Nobody listens. You won't find him on CNN or MSNBC or even Fox. He doesn't appear on mainstream news because nobody wants to talk about anything that depressing. But that's the problem. Nobody wants to talk about it. Chip Roy will talk about it. Thomas Massey used to talk about it until all of a sudden he became obsessed. I'm sorry, I cannot get started. I'll talk about this at some point soon, but this Epstein shit is really... Not that I don't have sympathy for the victims, but man, they're being used by the Democrat Party to satisfy their need for the fact that they have not won. They don't have a Russiagate this time around. They don't have anything they can use, and everybody looks at them and sees the extremism on the rise. They see how far over the cliff the Democrats have gone. And like when you see... I watched this thing with Jasmine Crockett. I'm sorry, I'll get back to this in just a second. When you see Jasmine Crockett, I saw this interview with her earlier today about how she's been bringing up subjects in the House that really are really not really very good answers to questions involving the subjects at hand when they're talking about it. And there's always a pivot to something else. And she just went off on this angry tirade about how, well, everybody, the racism in this country, and blah, 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 and black people, and blah, blah, and Trump, and blah, blah, blah. It's hit all the bullet points. And you'll be fine. Hit all the bullet points, and the fucking suckers will believe you. That's how she freaking is taken seriously by anybody. But trust me, she has... If you haven't recognized, she has nothing going on upstairs. She's an absolute dunce. And beyond that, she's a narcissistic asshole who has literally shouted at her staff to the point of tears because she thinks they're supposed to be essentially her I guess her slaves. More than anything, it seems like she's supposed to have slaves, not staff, not people that help the congresswoman out. No. They're supposed to do everything for her, including, and this is real, get her rental Escalades to go the 2 blocks from her apartment to the Capitol building, and then drive her around there, and then drive back, and then pick her up, and then take her back home, because it's all about the images for her. It's all about the appearance and how she carries herself, when really I think that lady said it best. I think it was in her district that said it best when she said, Jasmine, the people of your district deserve better than a fake ghetto hood rat. And she got so mad. Oh, it was beautiful. It was so wonderful. And that lady got thrown out really quick, but I was like, oh, good for you. That was excellent. That was excellent. So, she's that was why she was such a strong well, we're going to get into that part later, so we'll get there in a little bit. But yeah, that's where the left is right now. They have nothing at all. So anything and everything is meant as a distraction. They don't give really a shit about Charlie Kirk, or they don't even care about giving them the time to grieve, not even, you know, his loved ones. So there's not even, now, once again, they're not as bad as the actual people who carried out the act. But, I mean, there's still, I listened to Jamie Raskin give a speech in front of Kash Patel the other day, and it was nothing but the same bullshit you always hear from Jamie Raskin. So, you know, there's no civility left. There's no understanding left, and there's definitely no willingness to try and come to any kind of consensus on any issue left. It's just venomous hate. And I think the main reason, I said this last time, is because they've completely lost. The country's not on their side. Their arguments aren't landing. Their strategies aren't working. They've got nothing. So they're losing their shit. Sorry about that, but I just had to get that out because it was so enlightening to see these things. But anyway.
We are on the verge of full-on political violence and civil war. I don't think people realize what that looks like. There's going to be a lot of children without mothers and fathers, a lot of mothers and fathers grieving their dead children. I don't want that. Nobody should want that. But when it comes to evil people, cowardly, weak, evil people that snipe at Trump, at Charlie Kirk, like the gunman that came to my house last year, unfortunately, it's not always up to us.
Real quick, Nick has, of course, been doxxed and swatted several times, but someone did end up getting his address and attempting to show up to his house and kill him last year. And, you know, that was no joke. And I wouldn't even, you know, I didn't say anything at the time because, once again, I didn't really know that much about Nick at the time. I didn't pay much attention to Nick at the time, but, like, I wouldn't have been cheering on anything if anything had happened. I mean, it's disgusting, but, you know, that's just the reality.
Which battles we fight. When they show up to your front door, when they take shots at the rally, at the Change My Mind, we don't have a choice. We have to confront evil. We have to fight evil. We can never give in to evil, and we have to win. Recognize this. If these people ever get power over us,
this is what I'm talking about.
These people that celebrate, they sell t-shirts, they steal hats. When a man is lying dead, they will hurt you. They will hurt your children, and they will destroy everything that is sacred to us, everything that we love, and they will do it with a smile. They're already doing it. They have done it. They're telling on themselves.
The thing that
and
the hats
Sam
will come
Hyde
up
said
later.
it very well. All their cutesy language, their word games, their sarcasm, their irony, it is dripping with malevolence, dripping with contempt, dripping with malevolence and malice. And if these people ever win, we will all suffer the same fate as Charlie Kirk. They have to be defeated, utterly and fundamentally. Now, this is not a call to violence. Because
this is important.
Taking up arms against these people, what will that do? It will invite more of it. The Satanists, the devil worshipers, the malevolent people that do these things, in part, they do it to stoke resentment,
That's
to
what
stoke
they want
conflict.
more than anything,
They take
yes.
the things that we love away from us so that we will abandon God. So that we
and
will
our
become like
civility
them.
as well, real quick. Yes.
That is, whether they know it or not, that is why they do it. That is why they are impelled to do it by spiritual, supernatural forces. I believe that.
Absolutely.
Do not mistake what I mean by defeat them. And we'll talk about that more in a moment. But I want to make that clear right now. This is not a call for violence. Here is what I will say about left-wingers, because a lot of left-wing people reached out to me, and they told me, You have a responsibility. They said, we're afraid right now. They said, you need to lead people away from violence. I agree with them. But where was that mentality when someone showed up at my house with a gun and failed? Those people are not reaching out then. Where was that mentality throughout all of the persecutions, all the suffering? Now, this is speaking from a place of resentment. They're afraid. And I think of somebody like Hassan Piker. Such a hollow,
He'll be coming up
empty,
today, trust me.
sad person. Hassan Piker saw Charlie Kirk, someone that he knew, get shot in the neck and his neck erupt with blood. We don't need to be graphic about the details, but everybody should look at that long and hard and let it sit with you. When Hassan saw that, his first reaction was to make a glib remark about gun control. Seriously? That's a 31-year-old man. That's a young man with a wife and kids. He got shot in cold blood, publicly executed in front of thousands of college students. Never forget the trauma of his children, of his family. What about the people that witnessed this? What about everybody that will be affected by the knock-on violence that results from this? And you hollow, sick person, your response is to make some glib remark about gun control? Fuck you. Fuck you.
It's gotten worse,
and here's my
even.
message to Hassan Piker and every liberal cocksucker like him. You better disavow this violence. You better cry.
Oh, they won't.
Like Dean
I
Withers.
wish.
And I don't say that. Maybe that comes off like I'm humiliating him. Who knows whether that was sincere or not? I hope to God that it was. And if it was, you know what? Good on him. That's a good kid. And he said some nasty things about me. That's a kid with a conscience. He said, I don't think we should kill people for disagreeing. Is that divisive now? He had to apologize for weeping that someone he knew was murdered. That kid has a conscience. I have some faith in that generation. Here's my message to Hassan and all these.
Just real quick, Dean Withers, he's a goofy ass little liberal, but you know, he's debated Charlie a couple times, and when this happened, he did come out, and I think it was just the impact of knowing that he has talked to this guy, he's debated this guy, and I guarantee you Charlie was nothing but friendly with this kid. So I don't know, you know, how genuine it was. I know one thing though, I know the pressure of the left, and they're not going to allow him to be, you know, emotional or hurt in a deeper level on it. I hope that doesn't just, you know, I hope it doesn't, but I just have a bad feeling that if you know, he's, you know, treated like you're not allowed to grieve for someone on that side, especially when he's as young as he is. He's like 18 years old. He's just barely an adult, maybe 19. He's going to be going through his, you know, young adult formative years with the pressure to not react to something traumatizing. He's going to be pressured into keeping his emotions buried when he sees something horrific like that. That is one of the scariest parts, but that is what the left does when they're not getting their way. And that's the thing that I keep talking about that makes me the most angry. They have there's not 1 ounce of conscience left in that party. They have nothing about them that has some sort of hint of the sort of emotional response that a human being would normally have when they watch another human being executed in front of them, if their political beliefs are anything but lockstep with them. It's fucking disgusting as hell. And that's why I even bring this up, because I did hear about that. I didn't actually see the clip, but I did hear about that from so many people. And yeah, I think the first one was in that Surrounded thing from Jubilee. That was the first time, I think. But since then, they've talked. I think they had another debate, and they talked a couple other times. And like I said, I guarantee you, you know, when you see the man Charlie Kirk outside of the arena, the arena of political debate, the guy is, as far as I've heard, I've obviously never met him, but from what I've heard, is the most warm, kind-hearted guy you'll ever meet. So there's no way in hell that guy who's seen that side of him was able to reconcile, even with such serious political disagreements, that guy getting murdered in front of thousands of people and on live television. Well, not on live television, but the videos were played on live television, and ended up you know, just breaking down. He couldn't contain it, and like I said, I would see some hope in that. Except once again, you know, I know, you know, the Democratic Party itself, and especially the radical left, they're not going to like that. And when you are, you know, there's money that's pumped into that site, a lot of money that goes into and yeah, the influencers on the left, especially those guys. Oh my God, those guys have to leave their morality at the door, because there's no chance in hell you can possibly argue the points that they believe in and not just give up all kinds of decency and compassion for your fellow human beings by making that deal. It's a deal to trade all that stuff in for a paycheck from the Democrat Party. Congratulations, here you are. It's nihilism on a level that is incredible. But anyway, I just had to make mention of it because I brought it up and I hadn't talked about it yet. So.
Smug, glib liberals like that. If you will not disavow this violence, we will have no choice but to consider you as no different than the killers. That's complicity. You could be forgiven up until this point for being irresponsible. We all get heated. We all do it. I'm guilty of it too. It makes hypocrites of all of us. We murder each other with our words all the time, with our gossip, our slander. We overreact. We say things we don't mean. We get angry.
Absolutely.
We harbor grudges and resentment, things that we should not. And that's not to excuse it. But the day that someone gets shot for the disagreement, if you can't bring yourself to show the slightest ounce of humanity to a moderate Republican who got killed for no reason, this is a moment we all recognize could set us down the path towards a civil war, could set us down the path towards unbelievable horror, suffering, bloodshed. If you can't bring yourself, even for the selfish sake of yourself or your own people or your own pathetic side, to show the slightest ounce of humility, of mercy, of magnanimity, benevolence, charity, then you are no better than the killer. And that means that you must be destroyed politically as well. That's not a call to violence. But people like that have to be suppressed. Here is what I will say about left-wingers, because a lot of left-wing people reached out to me, and they told me,
this had to be left in because there was a cut from the video that I saw.
They said, we're afraid right now. They said, you need to lead people away from violence. I agree with them. But where was that mentality when someone showed up at my house with a gun and failed? Those people are not reaching out then. Where was that mentality throughout all of the persecutions, all the suffering? Now, this is speaking from a place of resentment. They're afraid. They're afraid that the right is going to punch back 1,000 times as hard, and we could, and we can. And I fear that some might.
About too.
But I hope to God that they don't. In some sense, the right to be afraid, we should all be afraid that something we cannot control may happen. Here is what I will say to those people. I And Charlie Kirk, for years, pushed a peaceful resolution. We invited the left to debate, negotiate. We played within the system. When Obama told us, you got to win elections, you know, we tried that. And look at what they did to Trump. They shot him in the fucking head.
That's right. That's right.
We tried to do it your way. We tried to debate, to go to the polls, the voting booth. People ran for office, and what did they encounter? Intimidation, menacing, harassment, slander, lies, assassination attempts, and successes. Now the left says we need to bring down the temperature. Here is what I would say to the left. The left now has an obligation. You can turn down the temperature.
Absolutely.
The left in America now, everybody in America now must come together and disavow this nihilistic, malevolent violence. You all have an obligation. I have that obligation, and I think I have done it. I condemn the violence.
Almost everyone on the right has done it.
All of the nihilistic violence, whether it comes from the far right, the far left, whether it comes from a Dylan Roof, the Buffalo shooter, or someone like this. It's your job
he's giving them everything they wanted on this one.
You must condemn it loudly, loud enough that we can hear it, and you have to mean it. It should stop here. To all of my followers, if you take up arms, I disavow you, I disown you in the strongest possible terms. That is not what we are about. And the same goes obviously for the other side. And I want to make that very clear. It would be a profound moral, political mistake for anybody to take the bait and to engage in any kind of reprisal, retaliation, revenge. Remember, we are the good side. And what makes us good is that we have Christ. What makes Christianity and Christ so different from the other religions is that our religion is based on the bearing of suffering for the sake of even those that persecute us.
This is critical, actually.
An overflowing of love, an overflowing of self-giving love, so much of it, it cannot be contained. An unconditional, absolute standard of love for all of God's children, even those that are misguided, even those that persecute us, even the most heinous among us. That is what makes us different. That is what makes us good. You think you're good? You're not. You are not good. I am not good. You are a man. I am a man. You are a sinner. I am a sinner. We cannot save ourselves. We cannot save this world. God can save us. God can save the world. And God saves us, and God saves the world by drawing all of us up onto the cross with him. And we join not just in his glory, but in his suffering. Real suffering, not imaginary, not a nice story, real suffering, real death, real destruction, real misery. We bear a cross like Christ bears a cross, like his disciples, like the martyrs, like the saints bear a cross. And you better get comfortable up there. Drink up. And you bear that cross not for your kin, not for yourself, not for your children, which are an extension of yourself. You bear that cross and that suffering. You drink from that chalice for your enemies. You don't need to condemn liberalism. You don't need to condemn whatever issue it is. You must condemn the violence at the minimum. The nihilistic violence has to stop. And today I would stand like any other day, shoulder to shoulder, with any one of my enemies, any one of them. Anybody that ordinarily they would think I would find them disgusting. You know, somebody who I least expected. I'm not even going to say who it is. You would not believe. Somebody hits me up and says, I'm the exact kind of person you would absolutely hate. I don't hate anybody. But that person, all these people have to be joined up for the sake of America, for the sake of humanity, and say we disavow the nihilistic violence. It is intolerable in our society. It must be absolutely suppressed, suffocated. It has to be snuffed out. The light has to defeat the darkness the day after this death. The left, the right, everybody must say, this has to stop. It should be an easy bar to clear.
Should be.
And for those that don't, I think I speak for everybody when I say, for the people that are interrupting the vigils for the young man who was killed and yelling, fuck Charlie Kirk, for the people that are selling T-shirts, mocking his execution, for the people that are saying he deserved it for some such other reason, these people must be ostracized from our society. We must identify them. We must have them fired from their jobs. They must be censored on social media. There must be a cost. Because if there isn't, this will continue.
Yes.
If there isn't, their ridicule, their provocations, their antagonism, it will provoke more violence. It will spawn, it will generate more violence. Copycats. Those people must be named. They must be shamed publicly. They must be penalized. Don't hurt them. Don't give them the satisfaction. Don't make them martyrs. Don't stoop to their level. But that guy who laughed when Charlie Kirk was shot, this guy needs to answer for why he did that. This guy should not be able to find a living. This guy should not be able to find harbor. Let him crawl on his belly across this country, finding no refuge. Because people that are complicit in evil like that do not belong in a decent society.
Absolutely.
That black individual that jumped over the fence and started stealing MAGA hats while Charlie Kirk was dead in an ambulance or in an SUV, that guy needs to be named and shamed too. Is nothing sacred? Does anything matter? Is there any humanity? How dare you? How dare you? We will not, cannot live in a society with people like that. Somebody like that needs to be named and shamed. They must hang their head in shame until there is some repentance on their side. Fortunately, our religion believes in forgiveness. But there must be a penance here.
Yes.
You have to say you're sorry.
Yeah.
You have to be penalized in some way. This cannot go unanswered anymore. That's what happened when Luigi Mangione killed that guy. That's what happened when Trump got shot and everybody made fun of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How many more times does it have to happen? Everybody is accountable to say this does not have a place in our society, and we must shame the people that think this is okay. This is not okay.
So, can probably understand why I was as impressed by that as I was, and once again, we've already seen the firings, and they're not taking them too well. But I have to say, they're not dead, and they can go about their life. But anything to indicate that, maybe I've kind of let my fear of my political opponents and the rhetoric that has been heated in this country, maybe I let it confuse me into believing something that turned me into someone I wasn't, or something I didn't think I could believe in, or whatever. There's got, like Nick said, there has to be something, because I've heard so many people come out and say, but I disavow the violence. And they always have to throw the caveat out, whether it's on the left or the right. And Nick did it here, but this hadn't really, simmered to the point where it is now, where it's always followed with, I can't remember who points this out, but it's always followed with a but. It's always, every single time, it's followed with a but. No one should be killed. Not Charlie Kirk, not anyone on the right or left should be killed for their political beliefs or for just being allowed to speak on a college campus. But, and then there's always some stupid, ridiculous fucking, what they love bringing up right now is Melissa Hortman, the congresswoman no one ever heard of from Utah. And the reason nobody heard about it is because it would have been a case that no one would have brought up at all, because in the details of the case, despite the information kind of seeming like it would point to the fact that this was someone conservative who went after a Democratic senator or congresswoman from the state. It was actually somebody. No, this was somebody who was left wing and was angry about something or other. I can't even remember. It was a decision that was made, and he was angry about that. And it's another one of those instances where it was someone not left. This was someone not left enough, who wasn't doing anything enough. It wasn't enough for a trans issue or a black issue or an issue involving this demographic or that demographic that has been persecuted oh so terribly. And once again, it's so hollow when you have to always do that. And there's been so many statistics that have come out recently around political violence, because anytime that's been brought up lately, it's been like, something doesn't seem right about this. Like something about the idea that political violence on the left or the right, this just doesn't seem right. And there's been a little bit of illumination on this, and the reasons are quite interesting. So first of all, yes, it's absolutely not true. Now you can say that yes, there is some. But here's the problem. You can say there's some political violence from the right, and there's obviously some from the left, but it's not even close. It's not even close. And look, I've been saying this for a while because it's disgusting, and because I not as many people are the kind of nerds like I am to watch videos of Congress or videos of the Senate, or things that are things that you would really, that really maybe not all that entertaining, but you get a little information from them. You find out who the representatives that get elected are, and so many of those people are they don't represent a damn thing. But I'm not just talking about them. I'm talking about what they talk about, and that's the institutions that fall under the federal government, and especially under the Biden administration, where things got so out of control. There was, and even before that, with, this really goes back to probably the apex of the tensions with Summer of Love 2020. And what people found out is that events like that, mass events like that, where whole cities burn down, and where, as I said before, the federal police precinct, the police precinct in Minnesota burned to the ground. The federal courthouse in, Oregon, why can't I think of the city? Portland, burned to the ground, or at least burned, firebombed. Police injured, catching Molotov cocktails, and That's why, the idea of them being labeled as a foreign terrorist organization, abso-fucking-lutely. Like, that's exactly what they are, and that's exactly what should happen. But here's the thing. Are you ready for this? Those are not counted as left-wing political violence. Those are counted as I can't remember. It's something like federal property damage, public property damage, individual acts that aren't affiliated, nothing affiliated with political violence. They are they omitted the political motivations behind it, because it's sick as fuck. It's sick as fuck that you could see that and say, well, these people are just upset about how the police are maybe a little too trigger happy in this country, a little too quick to use force in this country against black people. Bullshit. Even when you account for when you account for population and adjust it accordingly, it's like about it's about 16 to 6 unarmed individuals a year are killed. White, 16 people that are unarmed killed a year. Black people killed that are unarmed, 6 a year. That's the source of the outrage. And once again, in the case of George Floyd, even if you consider that to be someone who is unarmed and is not posing a threat, I don't consider that to be police brutality. Once again, when you know the extent of the crime, and I can't believe that people actually mock the concept that, well, of course it's not. He was only leaning on his neck. No, he wasn't. His knee was on his his upper back. His knee was right between his shoulder blades. That's where it was. Look at a video other than the one that was the least charitable video you could possibly make, where a group of people are all standing shouting, "Let that man up, let that man up." It's pathetic. It's pathetic. That video probably did more to hurt Derek Chauvin than just about anything, because rather than take any other video that was maybe was more showed more of the scene, it was a better angle, was capable of seeing more of the event, including what happened first and some of the events that led up to it, anything else, they went with that one because, of course, it was the least charitable video to Derek Chauvin. And everybody that comes out here and says it's ridiculous to say that it wasn't Derek Chauvin's fault, they've probably only watched that one video on loop over and over and over again, because that's what they did on mainstream media. They played that clip over and over and over again. And it's shit like that is like first of all, the idea of the media is a joke. Media today is just fuck that. Forget it. They have no interest in telling you the truth. They are going to just, now even, I'll say this, on Fox, there's far better chances for you to at least hear something that resembles reality. But if you watch Fox, I would also recommend watching something that is from a left perspective, not mainstream media, but at least something that represents the left. And then I would also suggest watching something that's not mainstream on the right, and watching that, because you're not going to get a realistic view of anything if you only stick, because they have to say these things. And what really blows me away about even Fox is how because of the fact that they work for an actual big media company, they can't tell you the truth that almost everyone in this country has arrived at about the 2020 election, about the fraud that was allowed to take place. Somebody finally was discussing this, and I saw this today. Thank God. I think it was Andrew Wilson discussing this. They asked him why he believed that the 2020 election was not a legit didn't have a legitimate result, and he was trying to explain the reasons why, and they just kept interrupting him over and over again. They didn't want to listen to the fact, and look, they even referenced 2,000 Mules, and in the movie, they explain the fact that there were people going to drop boxes at 2 in the morning, 3 in the morning, 4 in the morning, with bags and bags of ballots and stuffing them into ballot boxes that we were told had to be in every city. It didn't matter because COVID was dangerous, so we have to have drop boxes, and we have to have these places where people can go and they aren't going to be at risk of interacting with someone with COVID, so we have to have drop boxes. And the man was, okay, well, if we're going to have drop boxes, make sure that we at least have to have cameras at all the drop box locations. Well, of course. Almost none of the cameras were running. Almost none of the cameras were working or running, but a handful of them were, and almost all of them show the same thing. And so, if you haven't seen 2,000 Mules, Dinesh D'Souza's documentary, he uses a company that does geo-tracking and uses GPS positioning to kind of follow along with certain individuals. And the thing is that they try to use a narrative of like, well, this was only one location that you tracked to. Well, how do you know? Well, here's the problem. The geo-tracking was determined to show that, like without watching the video, the geo-tracking was determined to show this guy who had this phone is going to appear at this location at this time. It's right by a ballot drop location. Okay. Now, once again, this was like super early in the morning. They go through the footage. They go to that timestamp. What do they find? That exact thing. And they say, well, that doesn't prove that they did all the other stuff. Well, no, but that's because none of the other ones had cameras on. But it sure as hell proves the point that the geo-tracking worked. So if that's the case, then why is it that when he stopped at this location with a drop box, and this location with a drop box, and this location with a drop box, you wouldn't think that the geo-tracking was also proof enough that this guy went there with a bunch of ballots to stuff the boxes? Because the geo-tracking showed exactly what they said it was going to show. So logically, that should be what happened, right? No, because we don't have the camera footage. Oh, okay. Well, thank you. Now, on top of all that, this is always used. This is always used. Luke Weasley, that fucking scumbag little leftist, smug, arrogant asshole that goes on to Tim Pool sometimes, was going on and saying, well, these were all heard by judges and they were all dismissed. I'm saying, yeah, because they wouldn't allow evidence. They wouldn't even hear evidence. And this is where it's like, at what point do you kind of even have the thought cross your mind that maybe just, I wonder if corruption has something to do with this? Does it ever? Or is it only when it involves white people and a black guy or minorities or trans rights or some stupid shit that you're advocating for on a daily basis? Is that the only time you ever try to puzzle out a situation and think rationally? Because it seems like if you reserve all of your thinking time for that, then maybe you're overthinking all of that shit and you're underthinking the fact that, yeah, that would make sense that somebody who drops a shit ton of ballots at one ballot drop box did that to all the other drop boxes he stopped at that night. Maybe that has something to do with it. And maybe, just maybe, since that state was, once again, a swing state in a district that was super close, only needed to be like, a couple thousand votes, one more direction. That was just enough. And that's the thing. Area after area after area after area were all areas that were just like by few thousand, maybe down to a handful, 100 votes, few hundred votes at most. Like, and somehow, after this one night, this one critical night, all of a sudden, next morning, well, what do you know? Oh, well, it looks like Biden's taking the lead. Wow. Well, this seems suspicious. Why don't we do a read? No, how dare you? How dare you? How dare you question our system of democracy and of our voting integrity, voter integrity? How dare you? Well, you guys are the ones that don't want any voter ID and you don't want any voter security and ban Republican poll watch. Doesn't matter. This is our democratic process. You honor it. These people have like no shame at all, and you know, it's just. I know it's hard to swallow because of the events that came up all that year. And I know that everyone on the left is going to contend with this over and over again. And to be honest, it really is kind of, it's hard to say, but it's like, it's not going to help anything discussing it at this point. But I can at least say this. More people now are more suspicious of that election than I've ever seen. So at the bare minimum, at least, we have at least the clarity in that situation to be able to say, yeah, that was not on the level. That was absolute. That was absolutely an election that has too much fog around it for us to say anything one way or the other. But so much evidence points to the fact that the Hunter Biden laptop suppression, the what was the other thing leading up to it? There was well, of course, Biden was hiding in his Biden hiding in his basement the whole time. Then there was the COVID situation. There was Dr. Fauci out there who was sabotaging the administration from within, and there were, you know, it was all just like this perfect storm that you know, once again, if Democrats get an opening, they are going to charge it immediately, and they're going to force their way through because they're opportunistic 100%, and they have eyes watching all the time for weak points, and they're going to, if they see one, they're going to exploit it for all it's worth. And I have no concerns, I will say this term about Trump. He has been obviously incredibly clear-eyed, very focused, and doing. He's done so much better this term. And when you look at like Tom Homan, oh man, amazing job with ICE and Border Patrol. Guy in the opening clip, Stephen Miller. Oh God, that guy is one of the most fierce guys you'll ever see on a weekend show with some you know, shit-eating host from leftist media that tries every gotcha in the book, and he just navigates through all of it and slam dunks it at the end. It's just beautiful to watch. And then of course J.D. Vance, like compare J.D. Vance to Mike Pence, and it's like not even close to even. It's unfair to J.D. to even compare because the guy is so freaking like. He's so far ahead of his time, and just in every way, you know, he handles his, like, look at Kamala Harris and look at JD. He handles his job with integrity. He is absolutely 100% behind the president. He actually shows respect to the president and to other people all around the administration. You can see him with people who support the Republican Party and people that support Donald Trump, and super gracious. The way he has been so hands-on with the Kirk family, and being with them after the tragedy, it's amazing. These are people that you can look at and legitimately say, yeah, they care not only about America, they care about Americans. They care about the American people. And if there's one thing that I hear from anyone that has talked to Trump or met Trump, is just that, first of all, the guy is inhuman in the amount of energy he has. And secondly, he remembers everything. He remembers everyone's name. He remembers your wife's name. He remembers your kids' names. He remembers what you do for a living. He remembers, like, every single detail somehow. Out of all the people he knows, he remembers everything. And the guy has genuine empathy and genuinely likes hearing from American citizens, wants to know what's going on. And when you listen to the way he conducts his work as the president and writes his policies, you can also tell this guy is not just, off the cuff writing random legislation. This guy is listening to people and writing legislation accordingly. Now, I will say one thing, because unfortunately there was an event that came up this weekend, and then we'll get into we'll get into the more fun part of this. But, well, I say fun, I'm going to get probably really pissed off. But Pam Bondi was on I don't even know what the show was, but someone was asking her about this very divisive rhetoric that's used on the left, and the concept of hate speech came up, and she said something that really unsettled a lot of people. And she's trying to walk it back now, but it was really ugly, and it brings me back, I swear, it really brings me back to the point that I've said over and over and over again, and I know, once again, this was never going to happen, but God, we deserve Matt Gaetz, man. We deserve Matt Gaetz. You think he would have said something about how absolutely we need to be watchful for hate speech online? You think Matt Gaetz would have said that? Because, man, that just was... Oh. So, of course, people were really quick to be like... this is not about that. And the problem is, this isn't about hate speech. This is about radicalization and actual law breaking by calls to action from the left through different social media channels and different what would you call it? Private communications that are held through encrypted channels that people can do online with each other and discussing things that are going to happen on every radicalization corner of the internet. But the problem is that once again, this is all coming from one side. There's no I hate to even say it, but there's no people who for as much as they want to talk about Melissa Hortman, no one went to the Hortman funeral after the killing and spit at the family or on the reception or anything like that. People on the right were respectful and didn't show up and try to antagonize or insult or blatantly disrespect by something like that. Meanwhile, these people, I heard best earlier today, these people are angry and rioting because these people killed Charlie Kirk. The left is angry that the left killed Charlie Kirk. And so they're rioting because of it. I think what they're angry about is the response that they wanted isn't the response they got. Because all around the world, people were, like I said yesterday, the other day, like I was saying the other day, they were in prayer, they were in memorial services, they were in vigils, they were holding celebrations to remember Charlie's memory. They didn't march through the streets, destroying businesses, burning down buildings, destroying people's cars, burning cop cars, attacking officers. No, they didn't block traffic. They didn't, violently attack anybody. They quietly and silently engaged in memorial services, prayer services, and candlelight vigils. And that's the difference. That's the difference between the parties right there. Because somebody on that side dies doesn't give you license to go and destroy anything. And I don't give a shit how much you think there's racism all over the place in this country, which is, by the way, bullshit. If anything, if anything, I agree there is racism. It's totally fine for you to engage in it as well, as long as it's against white people. Otherwise, I don't see it. I don't see it really anywhere. At least anywhere in any kind of major numbers. And once again, the reason I played a clip of Nick Fuentes is that I didn't hear anything in that whole discussion. Now I know he's for a long time had major problems with Israel. I disagree with him on a lot of issues regarding Israel, but I don't really begrudge him that at the moment. What I care about right now is, was he thinking about this country and the shape that we're in? And I wholeheartedly agree with everything he said. And I also wholeheartedly agree that, once again, we're not going to kill anybody, but I think advocating for someone to be forced to suffer some sort of social penalty, like firing or like forced community service or something, I don't know, something, anything, to show that there's some sort of remorse there, would be a pretty helpful thing to a lot of people. But that's the problem with the left, is not only are they incredibly callous and malicious, they're also lazy as fuck, and they have no interest in doing anything to better their communities, to better their neighborhoods, to better even their own families. They only have one interest, and once again, as I've said before over and over, it's to get back power. And like when I heard Jamie Raskin the other day speaking, I was like, I know how that snake talks and it's disgusting. I couldn't believe how absolutely freaking disrespectful and off the chart freaking just constantly insulting he was at Kash Patel. I had my problems with Kash Patel since he's been FBI director, but not like with Pam Bondi. It's a little different. I think there are areas where he's done good. But, like, once again, it went right back to the Epstein thing. It was supposed to be a hearing on Charlie Kirk's assassination, on the state of the country's safety and border integrity, things to do with child sex trafficking, to do with drug smuggling. There was that drone. Was it a drone strike or a bomb? They blew up that boat in the Gulf of America because they were a boat that were carrying a shit ton of cocaine on it, and they blew it up. And some people on the right were cheering that on because they were a bunch of probably a bunch of people who have done some pretty horrific shit in their lives. And people on the left, of course, were like, how dare you? You didn't even give them a right to have a fair trial. I was like, first of all, these aren't American citizens. They're fucking drug smugglers from across the border. Secondly, do you think that United States intelligence didn't know every freaking move those people had made up until that point? You think they had no idea the exact amount of drugs they had on that boat? You think they had no idea the amount of the people that were there, or what they were doing, or what they've been up to for the last fucking 6 months? Probably. United States intelligence is like the best in the freaking world. And you think they just blew? Somebody said they attacked a fishing boat. Yeah, the fishing boat that was zooming through the freaking ocean like a speedboat. Yeah, they were there fishing. Yeah, that's it. Man, jeez, Trump, what a dictator. Well, that brings us to our three characters for the evening. I'm not going to spend too much time on this because this, quite frankly, I don't know if I have the patience, but this is the one that we'll start with, the one that came up earlier today, and I just have to include because how long have I done? Oh, just over 2 hours. Okay, yeah. Well, let's see. We'll go through this. We'll kind of go through this kind of quick. I don't want to hold everybody up super long tonight. So, So let's start with the name I added earlier today, and I didn't know I was going to get to this one, but it's perfect. It's a perfect way to kick this one off. This guy is our most racist of the evening. So here, hold on just a second. Let's bring this up. Now I'm sure some of you are going to recognize the name, some of you won't, but in case you're unfamiliar, here we go. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Roland Martin. And just listen to this guy.
Well, folks, the House passed this resolution praising the life and legacy of white supremacist Charlie Kirk. He was gunned down speaking at a university in Utah. It got 310 votes, but a lot of people are saying what the hell was going on, because you had 58 Democrats voted no, but you had 38 that actually refused to vote as well. You see the vote totals right there. And so, again, you had 95 Democrats vote yes. Among them, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries. In addition to Jeffries, you had 3 other CBC members who voted for the particular resolution. This, of course, as folks asking some serious questions, why in the hell would Democrats actually do this? Did it make any
why the
sense
hell would they show any kind of
whatsoever?
compassion
Now, Gregory Meeks
to a human being who
voted
got assassinated?
for this. Don Davis. Now, he's in a +3 red district, but it doesn't matter. How about having some conscience? How about having some integrity when it comes to voting here? This, to me, is beyond shameful. It is utterly ridiculous because, again, you can vote against. And also David Scott. And I call out Meeks and Scott, both my frat brothers. Hakeem Jeffries, he's a Kappa. I'm going to call him out. It's different if the resolution dealt with the issue of political violence. But Republicans are treating Charlie Kirk like he was a martyr. And you can't overlook the stuff that Charlie Kirk actually said, especially about black people.
You shouldn't. You shouldn't. But you should actually know what he said, fat ass. I won't get into that part because this slob is too stupid to know that he has no fucking clue what Charlie Kirk has ever said. He has no idea what he's talking about at all. And I just want you to really quickly recognize the fact that he was talking specifically about the people who are non-white and voted for this especially. Because one thing about this guy is that he's racist as fuck. So much so that, you ready for this? This next one I'm going to show you, I've saved this one for a while, actually. He is so incredibly angry in this one because the Supreme Court was against segregation. Imagine that. Why would he be angry? Oh, that's right. That's right. I remember now. Because this was during the redistricting thing. And for a long time now, the left has been very strong advocates to make sure that you could redraw district lines based on the racial demographics of the district. I think that's fucking disgusting. And if I recall correctly, this thing, they always go into this huge tizzy for redlining. Yeah, that's it, redlining. It had to do with trying to make sure they knew all the districts in town where there were people that were white and then people that weren't white, and then they were segregating those people into those areas so they could, they could make sure they could profile that neighborhood, and they knew where to go if there was violence, and they would just blame the black people. Okay. And then great thing happened. Segregation was banned. And we all were excited and happy about that, and now things are going to be equal. Now there's been a growing group of people on the left who applaud things like black-only graduation ceremonies, black-only dormitories. And now you literally have dumbass people in social media who have dying shows that and have never had any talent, to be honest, who go out and, well, I'll just show you the clip. Listen to how angry he is that the Supreme Court is going to take away racial-based district creation, and that is a disgrace. That's a betrayal of black people. That's a disgrace to the party. That's I don't care. I'm gonna use the word. I don't care. He's somebody who apparently probably would have been fine if Lyndon Baines Johnson had been there himself and said, "We'll have these niggers voting blue for the rest of their lives." He doesn't care about that, I'm sure. And it's shocking. It's shocking that's passable. That you can get away with that with today's Democrat Party and have no issue. But you raise the issue of how I don't think that racial quotas are a good way to go about hiring, especially when it comes to fields like, I don't know, surgeon or pilot maybe. Those things you want to have somebody who's qualified for. And then the how dare yous come out. How dare you? Are you suggesting that black people can't be surgeons or pilots? No. I'm suggesting that black people can, and to show they can, they should go through the same processes everyone else in this country has to go through, so that people don't die during the course of their workday. Because, and it's funny as hell because somebody like Dr. Ben Carson, one of the most accomplished surgeons in the country, is shunned like hell by the left because he's religious. Because he's someone who's a strong believer. And they hate his freaking guts because he'll show up at CPAC and talk about our faith gives us strength. And our faith gets us through dark times. And the black family and black family unit used to be far more about family and far more about faith in this country. And when that died, so did the black family, and so did black communities all around the country. They hate his guts for that. Once again, Thomas Sowell, possibly the most intellectual and influential historians in the country, somebody who has taught me more about history than probably anybody I've ever learned from in school, who knows way more about slavery than anyone, I guarantee, any leftist has ever studied under. But they hate his guts. You know why? Because he talked about, well, like I said the other day, there were people in this country who were black and owned slaves, and there are people who were white in this country who were enslaved. But no, that's not true. That's why they ganged up like hell on Jillian Michaels the other night on Abby Phillips's ridiculous show, where the only thing that really is even interesting to watch is it's become almost a meme at this point. But Scott Jennings literally is the only reason to watch that show. But then when Jillian Michaels was a guest on the show, and all she did was talk about how that big museum at the Capitol or in DC. I can't remember. Anyway, it was going to have all these new displays up, and all of them were essentially extremely critical of white people for colonization and oppression and this and that. It's a big grievance memorial, and a grievance display for today too, because it's all white people's fault for everything. And the only reason they got mad at her was because she suggested that maybe, just maybe, white people aren't the source of all the suffering in the country. And then they tried to say that she was rewriting history, and she didn't want to teach kids about slavery, and she didn't want. It's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. and they still they hate her guts now. She's crossed a line that was not to be crossed, and it's just like, maybe I just did too because I just used the dreaded word. But I was, I don't care when I'm quoting somebody, and I'm not gonna just say it. I'm not gonna say the N word when I'm quoting somebody. If I was quoting a book and the word was listed, I'm not gonna censor myself. Sorry. That's not the way it's written, and that's not what I'm gonna say. I'm gonna say what is actually there. And the fact that you can't even say it in those terms is another example of exactly what I'm talking about. So why don't we take a look at Roland's little outrage party on his show when that Supreme Court decision had just been handed out. So
tonight, the fight to redraw the political map in Texas is escalating.
We're never giving up, and we're never.
Oh, look, it's Beta.
With a rally against the state's redistricting,
it's Beta Male
and
O'Rourke.
4 Democrats who fled the state to stop it.
We can't do it without you. I know your hearts are with us.
Texas Democrats on the run, appearing virtually as they try to block their Republican colleagues from creating 5 new GOP congressional seats.
Just announced plans to end their walkout and come back to Austin. House Democrats left to deny Republicans a quorum, which has delayed any voting on redistricting. They released a statement saying they'll return to Texas on 2 conditions. The legislature ends its first special session, which is already set to happen tomorrow, and state lawmakers in California introduced a proposal to offset the 5 congressional seats Republicans would add in Texas.
I was sitting in the chat, and some folks were like,
oh, here we go.
They were like, man, Roland, I understand, but you want the folks to do this here and do that here, but a lot of us are comfortable. I said, well, God damn it, I ain't comfortable. I said, because I pay the taxes on a house in Dallas County that my parents live in. And when I go home,
yes,
and I've got family reunions.
Look at this fucking schmuck on this.
And again, 9 nieces, 4 nephews. When I look at family members who are all in Texas, God damn it, there's blood, sweat that's in that fucking soil. And if you didn't want to fight, then God damn it, leave. Let somebody else in that position.
Look at his face. He looks like he just ate a sour fucking...
It's a battle that's generational.
Something really sour.
What we are talking about right now, go to my iPad. The United States Supreme Court is going to reconsider the congressional district in Louisiana, and they literally are going to rule against race-based congressional districts. And I need all of y'all to understand that
race-based... Wait, what? They're going to rule against race-based congressional districting. And he's angry about it. Like I said, these people have become segregationists. They've become black supremacists. They've become completely anti-white, anti-American. And I'm not talking about black people as a whole. I'm talking about black leftist extremists like this fat piece of shit right here. He does nothing but rail and rail all fucking day about how evil white people are and how white people did this, white people did that. They need to pay reparations. Basically, if you're not on the ground kissing a fucking black guy's foot all day, you're guilty of something. I can't stand this guy. I've seen him on Patrick Bet David where he cleaned up enough just to barely have a kind of somewhat decent conversation. But, that's the kind of mask they'll put on just long enough to have be on a show that's not some freaking therapy session on his channel. And it's unbelievable when you see the way that these people advocate for things. Once again, if you asked him, so what do you think about all white districts then? Oh, what? Hell no. No, hell no. Of course not. Because you don't know if that's going to be a Republican or Democrat district. Now, it's probably going to depend on the wealth, and I don't know if he even knows that or not, but, and I bet you he would think that the poor white people would vote Democrat. He'd be in for a rude awakening, probably, if he knew the real, statistics on that. But the fact of the matter is that this is just one of those things where the older people, especially in any demographic, are not understanding that like, we've heard it all before, dude. We've heard it all before, and it doesn't fucking work. I know you love your soapbox you get on, but sorry. What are you worried for your relatives in Texas for? Oh yeah, they can't have abortions on demand until the moment of birth for any reason. That's right. That's right. No more bodily autonomy for women who want to murder their babies at 9 months. No more partial birth abortions. Oh no, women are at risk. Fuck you. Jeez. Let's listen to the rest of Roly Poly's freaking meltdown.
What is on the ballot is they could wipe out with one goddamn ruling more than 30 black congressional seats. That means right now the Congressional Black Caucus is the largest caucus in the United States Congress, and this Supreme Court could literally wipe out half of the damn Congressional Black Caucus.
Sounds like they don't have much of a leg to stand on then, because if they're that weak, maybe they should go. You know, I was not going to go after Roland Martin at all until he decided to take his little jabs at Charlie Kirk about how he was a white supremacist. There was not one thing Charlie ever said to suggest that he was in any way racist, sexist, white supremacist, anything like that. But of course, you know, it's a talking point. So Roland's going to talk about it, and it's so, you know, he's just a tool. But it just goes to show you that even the tools have no freaking, you know, they have no hesitation in just accepting whole cloth anything that was told to them. And I guarantee you, the only thing he was told was that, well, he said that he didn't know whether he could trust if he saw the pilot was black, if they knew how to fly the plane. I guarantee you that was the part that he heard, and that was all he heard, because, you know, it has nothing to do. And even if he was told the rest, he probably wouldn't care, because he was making a statement about how DEI is dangerous. When you set racial quotas, you, by definition, don't get the most qualified person for the job. And people have used this as an example before, and I know Roland would hate this idea, so I'll just say it right now. But if the NBA was forced to have racial quotas, you know, and they were forced to, we won't even do it by demographics in terms of population. We'll just do it by percentages. Even like that, if you're forced to have half black, half white, or like, you know, a quarter white, a quarter black, a quarter Hispanic, and a quarter Asian American. Okay, how is that fair? How is it that the players that are all in the league right now, how is that fair to them? It's not. It's not in any way. And how is that going to improve the product? It wouldn't. Now, what does he freak out about in reality, though? Coaching. Of course, because most of the coaches are white, and they earn so much more money. Who's the ones out in front of the cameras? Who are the big stars? Who are the ones that have a chance at being in the history books as legendary players of the game? There's only one fucking Michael Jordan. There's only one Kobe Bryant. Best players ever to play the game. I don't know one coach's name. Which is kind of, I mean, I know there's people out there that, I mean, I'm not even into basketball, but I mean, you know, I know there's people out there that know at least a coach's name, even if they're not into basketball. I don't follow sports, so I'm not the person to talk about that with. But I will say this, you know, once again, people have referenced this a million times, and I'll just throw it out there because it's one of the things that makes sense. And since people like fat ass here can't make sense, I'll just say, when Michael Jordan was asked about, you know, why do you not come out and say anything against Republicans? And he says, well, Republican people buy sneakers too. And he's a capitalist, so imagine that. Imagine that. He understands what the American dream can do for somebody. It's so freaking sad. But at the same time, all you can do is mock it, because what are people like that going to do? You think that guy's ever going to change his stance on it? No. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. So that brings us, people that don't know what they're talking about. Should I do two? The two next are our main events, and I'm sure most of you will probably be familiar with these two, but it really deserves some highlighting for what they've done over the last few days, because I've watched these two asshats for quite a while now, and it's unbelievable, you know, what you can do and what you can say, and what kinds of repercussions you will face in this country depending on where you stand. But yeah, man, it's there's no two better examples of it than these two. You know what? Let me see real quick. I think we'll start with the one that was mentioned by Nick Fuentes. And then we'll leave the last one for the very end, because yeah, the last one has a clip that I know no one probably here has seen. I'm sure very few people have actually seen. It's from quite a while ago, but it's really great. So I think really this is the only clip I have, isn't it? Because I'm not going to waste your guys' night on these guys. They're two absolute pieces of garbage that deserve no quarter whatsoever when it comes to the way they've handled themselves in the public eye and the kinds of things they've advocated for, and how they have completely and totally muddied up the waters and confused people and made people confused as to the message of groups that are absolutely as extreme as you can get, and positions that are extreme as hell and that ruin people's lives. But I think it's just this one. Yeah, so this isn't very long, but let's go ahead and talk about Hassan Piker. As I said, the guy that Nick Fuentes mentioned. The reason Nick Fuentes got so worked up about this guy. So you'll see a lot of it here, but well, let's just play this first, and then we'll kind of get into the specifics of anything else you might need to know, because this guy's a real piece of work. I'll just say this beforehand. Now, this guy operates mostly on Twitch, and if you know anything about Twitch, you know they are, you know, pretty. They're pretty openly unfair in the way they treat their the people on their platform. That's why I don't stream there anymore. I wouldn't support that fucking company 1 ounce anymore. And I know they wouldn't want to support me either, so fair play. But these people have no problem, you know, promoting their biggest cash cows. And anybody under that line, they have no problem just throwing them under the bus and screwing them with them. Perfect example. Streamer you may be aware of. She's been mentioned before because she's good looking, but she's a total evil fucking cunt. Alinity Divine, if I remember correctly. Nothing divine there, but yeah, she's been doing, you know, fucked up shit for a long time. She talked about how proud she was, how she married this guy to get a Canadian passport, and then she divorced him like right after she got there, and then she laughs about it like it's a good old time. So that gives you an idea of her character. But one of the most egregious things was this one night she's sitting there, and she's sitting there with her cat, when she often did, and she's got this bottle of vodka, and she's having a good old time. And she goes and she opens her mouth to kiss the cat, and the cat does that with her apparently. Only she squirted a little bit of vodka into the cat's mouth, and it went like this. And then she just chuckles and laughs about it, no idea she could have killed the fucking cat. Meanwhile, this other girl who is streaming, playing video games, like, you know, Twitch was originally for, has her cat kind of, you know, wandering around the desk area, kind of in the way. So she picks it up and puts it over her head and then kind of drops it over the back like this. They were all convinced that she was guilty of animal cruelty. And, you know, they suspended her for a week. And she's like, I didn't mean to offend anybody. You know, I do that a lot with my cat when she's in the way and I'm playing something. It's like, have you ever seen a cat? They could land on their feet pretty easily. They usually are pretty damn good at that. And as a matter of fact, dropping a cat like that, I guarantee you, unless you threw it, I don't think there's any way it wouldn't land on its feet. Yet poisoning a cat, oh, that's fine. That's fine. Nothing wrong there. I don't care how ignorant you are. If you're that fucking stupid, you know, maybe you have something to apologize for, but she makes a shit ton of money. The other girl doesn't. So, goodbye. Enjoy your week off. So, that's what I mean. And when it comes to Hassan, well, let's just say, okay, he's the nephew of Cenk Uygur, so there's one big red flag already, but it's even worse. This guy is probably the biggest terrorist supporter I've ever seen on any social media platform. I had that intro a while back of the guy that was talking about his favorite flag is the Hezbollah flag. That's this guy. So, get ready and brace yourself. I can guarantee that, this guy is obviously somebody that you're never going to get any degree of like, excuse me, any degree of trying to reach an understanding, a goodwill discussion, a good faith discussion, trying to find some common ground. No, this guy is an absolute out and out communist. He's an out and out freaking terrorist supporter. He's an out and out anti-Semite. He's an out and out, like, everything in the book. And he hides behind this veneer of pretending to care about poor people. This guy is very, very wealthy. He's made a shit ton of money on Twitch, I can tell you that. And yet he's pro-communism. He's the kind of guy who's pro-communist because he's going to be the guy with the yachts. And all the other people in his audience are going to be the people starving to death. So that's why he's pro-communist. Anyway, ready to get sick? Here we go. Let's see what Hassan has to say. So I guarantee you, there's a reason people know this guy's name, and it's for all the wrong reasons for the most part, unless you're stupid enough to be a fan of this guy. But in that case, I can't help you. But anyway, here we go.
Probably their metrics show you're not botted and viewers largely only watch you. Yes. There's a couple different reasons. One, because I play ball, okay? I stick within the confines, no matter how much my haters try to fucking present it as the opposite, I stick within the confines of the terms of service. I'm a progressive figure.
Yeah, sure.
And also, association with me for Twitch and therefore Amazon as well is a positive one in the eyes of mainstream news because they get a lot of prestige when the New York Times writes about, you know, a young activist fighting the good fight or whatever the fuck, right? On top of that, I also make money for the platform because a percentage of your subscriptions go to Twitch. So for them, they see a lot of discontent. They see a lot of anger. They see all this like bullshit. And at least for the time being, they think, yeah, it's not, you know, there's no reason to just like fucking clap this person. But the major reason why I'm frustrated here is that this is leaning into the severe restrictions on political dissidents, an erosion of free speech. These guys understand that there is a threat here for discontent, and they do not want discontent to exist. These are literally using Destiny's Community's clips.
Okay, hold on. I'm sorry. This guy didn't just deny, or didn't just ignore, you know. the idea that people on the right who said they were skeptical of the vaccine, had their profiles shut down, had their accounts removed, were monitored by the FBI in some cases. He didn't obviously didn't care when people who were skeptical of the election said anything. He didn't care that the FBI was monitoring pro-life Catholics. He didn't mind that that the federal government was promoting this idea that you can be a man and compete in female sports, break a girl's nose, give her a concussion in a volleyball match, and things are totally fine if you raise your voice. What, you bigot? What, you bigot? And they'll monitor you. They'll show up at your house. They have the FBI come out, scare the shit out of your family and your children, put you in a cop car and take you away. And he won't raise one word of protest. But when you celebrate a man's death, and we're in the Trump administration, they talk about how we need to not allow this type of rhetoric on the platforms because it's going to lead to more acts of violence. He has the fucking balls to sit there and say, oh, they're threatening to take away free speech. Fuck you, Hassan. Fuck you. Go to hell. Are you fucking kidding me? There has been nothing but tyranny under your precious President Biden. Which I know. I'm sure you don't really like Biden, do you? None of you people really like Biden. Yeah, you've all come out and said that now. I'm sure that's true. I'm sure you totally didn't like Biden. So yeah, sure. Fuck off. But that still doesn't, really tell me anything because, honestly, Biden wasn't doing shit. So what about Secretary Mayorkas, Hassan? What about Javier Becerra? What about Antony Blinken? What about Merrick Garland? How about any of these fucking people? How about Dr. Anthony Fauci? Do you have an issue with any of them? Any of them? Ooh, my camera just got too hot. And that's my other camera too, not the one, not my newer one. Well, we'll just have to deal with the video. We're almost done here, so I'll just play the rest of this clip and we'll call it good.
Because they couldn't find anything. They couldn't find anything recent of me saying anything that's even remotely advocating for violence or anything like that specifically. And I know they're looking. I know that right-wing groups are currently desperately looking for anything that they can tie me back to Charlie Kirk in a violent manner, right?
Gee,
and DGG
why would they be doing
gave
that?
them all of the shit that is readily available out there. All this like false framing, all this out of context shit.
Oh, false
but
framing.
Then those very same forces that these guys often collaborated with are now coming after Destiny as well. Oh, there's plenty of energy against me too. Let's be real. For
Destiny's the
liberals
last on the list,
to cave and capitulate to demands of lowering the temperature, when the main figure in American politics, the goddamn president, is not doing so at all and is using this tragedy as an opportunity to fucking stamp out any sort of political dissent. Jeez, he posted that video. This is a conspiracy.
I'm sorry. He's been pushing this bullshit out for a while. Let me just clear the air here on this one. This president hasn't been looking for excuses to do anything. He's had enough on his hands, as a matter of fact. You know what he's been doing? He's been shutting the border. He's been going after the people that the administration let in, that had criminal records that they didn't even bother to check into because they're too busy just saying, let them in faster, let them in faster, let them in faster, let them in faster. And anyone that knows the magic word asylum, you better let them in. And also, it's your responsibility to make sandwiches for these people. It's also your responsibility to drive them back and forth to the hospital. It's also your responsibility to go and get medications for their children if they need it. It's also your responsibility to fly them to their flight that they're going to have later this afternoon to the city they're going to that they decided they want to live in. So, yeah, hop to it, Border Patrol. Let's go. Let's see it. Believe me, I don't think Donald Trump needs another thing to worry about. But unfortunately, when you kill an innocent man in front of an entire college and the rest of the country, and you have professors showing the video to their students on loop, and you have a bunch of lunatics who are viewing it and laughing their asses off about it and having a good old time dancing in front of the camera while they celebrate the death of an innocent man. You know, the president kind of needs to do something about it. So, yeah, Hassan, I think that's the problem. And maybe if, you know, people in positions of you know, not authority, but people with a position that would be influential. Influencers, you know, influencers. The magic word influencers. Everybody's favorite influencer. You know, maybe if these people who view themselves so fucking absolutely egocentric as freaking this big name influencer, maybe if you acted like you were responsible enough to be influential, then there wouldn't be an issue. But unfortunately, when you literally praise Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, and pretty much any terrorist organization you can think of that's in the Middle East, and on top of which you advocate for Antifa in the United States, then maybe you are kind of opening the door up to a little bit of interest. And I would also say that, you know, it's not like it's not for cause. We've seen, unfortunately, that, like I said, you didn't want any attention brought to yourselves. Maybe you shouldn't have freaking attacked cops, burnt down cities. And I know the mainstream media framed it as fiery but mostly peaceful, which was a total joke, and it's a meme now to actually have that be the stance of the media, but it's not really funny. It's funny when you think about the hypocrisy of how absolutely ridiculous these people are when they get a narrative that they have to stick to and they are told, you better keep pushing this or our bosses are not going to be happy. That's the part that's a little dangerous, Hassan. I wouldn't say that the president's actions are dangerous at all. I would say it's the acts of the people intimidating the shit out of the population and essentially acting like anytime you have someone on the right who is able to either get elected or pass legislation, then it's suddenly the end of the country. It's a constitutional crisis. We have a dictator. It's Hitler reborn. And I swear to God, if this country ever goes down, it's going to be because people like you became the boy that cried wolf. You did it over and over and over and over and over again. And now we have to sit here and listen to it 50 times more. And then maybe when something actually happens, nobody's going to believe it. Because you've sat here freaking saying every single action from Donald Trump was an act of authoritarianism. It was a dictatorial act. This guy is trying to become an authoritarian. He's sending out the National Guard. This is a I don't even. Anyway, let me finish this idiot's freaking speech up.
Like, people are so dumb on it. Ethan Klein posted my video of me criticizing people's conspiracy theories that, like, Israel assassinated Charlie Kirk, to say that I was actually pro said conspiracy. That's so funny. All right, whatever. Who gives a dude? He's an irrelevant loser. Let him cry in the corner. I think I
agree he's a loser,
issues
but
to worry about. Oh, there's nothing you can do, man. In this day and age, there is literally nothing you can do. You got like a rich asshole who is genuinely obsessed. If you got a rich asshole who's genuinely obsessed, there's actually nothing you can do about it. They will just, like, consistently hound you.
Yeah. Yeah, they will, won't they, Hassan? Yeah, it sucks, doesn't it, man? Man, it's rough, isn't it, out there? It's so terrible. Poor you. Poor you. I feel for you. Well, not really, because, you know, there's been people like the president of the United fucking States getting booted off all the social media platforms. How about that one? This guy that you think is this authoritarian monster was... And by the way, you know what? They never seem to catch the irony in. If this was really an authoritarian government, if this was real, you know, an actual police state, an actual authoritarian police state, you think they could post shit like this? You think they could criticize the government in any way, shape, or form the way they do when they go on these fucking things? The answer is no. No, they could not. As a matter of fact, the first thing that governments that are totalitarian governments, that are authoritarian governments do is take away people's free speech and their firearms. Both things that he advocates for until they do it to him. Then it's crossing the line. Then, no, we can't do that. No, please, no, this is ridiculous. This is totalitarianism. This is tyranny. Yeah. You know, I could go on and on about Hassan, but ultimately, what you'll get from Hassan is excuse-making nonstop. But you'll also get slip-ups, because he's the guy who they found the clip of that was mentioning how that Bella Ciao song, that stupid Bella Ciao song, that this Antifa song, was actually an Antifa song. And by also extension, that this rhetoric they use about how Antifa, it's an ideology. It's not a group. It's an ideology. Yeah, okay. So, you're retarded, and no, it's not just an ideology. Have you ever seen the fact that there's a flag that says Antifa on it? You ever seen the black bloc? You ever heard of people who literally say Antifa is going to organize at this event and this event? And this? I mean, it's, but of course, no. When it comes to anything that's done officially, they always get in defensive position. They're just like the Democrat Party, like this. They always get into a line where they put up the phalanx and they circle the wagons, whatever you want to call it, and are like, no, there's no such group as Antifa. What are you talking about? It's an ideology. It's anti-fascist. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm anti-meanies. So if I was to go out and say anti-meanies, you know, yeah, that's kind of an ideology, I guess. But, you know, if I had a bunch of people running around in ski masks and breaking stuff and saying it's all in the name of getting rid of those mean people, I've kind of crossed the line from my original message, because in that case, I'd kind of be one of those mean people I was originally talking about. So the guy is completely bankrupt of any kind of actual thought. He thinks he's really clever. He always thinks he's really clever. He's one of these guys that uses big words to try and act like he's got an extensive vocabulary and he's intelligent enough to have a serious debate. But if you ever watch any of his debates, it's just constant raising his voice and raising the vocal pitch, by the way, to where the point is like this. And it's just really, really, really annoying and infuriating. So, yeah, no, this is just like another freaking example of the same kind of thing. And that's, like I said, this is why I'm not on Twitch anymore. I used to play games on the site. If I was to stream anything anymore for gaming, it would not be on Twitch. So that brings us to our last exhibit for the evening. And unfortunately, my camera might still be able to... Let me see real quick. Because I'll try and get through this quick. I know it's Sunday, it's late, and I don't want to hold you guys up for too much longer. But there's just one more example, and we have to play this guy, because if there's one guy who has been the face of making the face of an ass in this whole thing, it's Destiny. It's Destiny. It's Stephen Bonnell. He has said probably the most sick, sadistic shit during this whole thing. more than anybody else, and he's got a very unusual sense of reasoning. You know what? I won't even. I'll make this really quick. I'll skip the first mentioned part of a video that I was going to play from Piers Morgan that everybody's probably seen at this point, where he's talking about how, well, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to condemn this until the president comes out and condemns violence on his side because the right wing is so much more violent than the left. I've talked about that already. I've talked about how that's fucking ridiculous. And that's his stance. His stance is that the president needs to apologize first before he's going to apologize. Yeah, okay, Justin. Yeah, that's so moral. So I'll skip that, and I'll go straight to something that I look. If you want to know the personality of Destiny, I think it gets nailed in this clip. It's a pretty old clip. This is back when he used to once in a while go on right-wing debate shows and used to debate people. You know, he's always had the same kind of personality. He's gone through different phases of levels of annoyance, like and levels of hostility, to be honest. And he reached peak levels about a little over a year ago, and I can pinpoint the position why. I can tell you exactly why. He appeared on this show with his wife, and they were in a polyamorous relationship, aka other dudes were railing his wife. And he said he's totally fine with that. Oh, it makes us stronger. We're a better couple because of it. Yeah. About a month later, she ditched him for some dude in Norway that she was railing on the side. Or she was getting railed by in the side. I don't know. Maybe she's railing him too. I don't know. I don't know what kind of kinky shit she's into. I have no idea. I have no interest. But after that, he seemed like he's kind of been broken because, you know, at first he kind of was playing it off like, I know the internet's never going to let this go, but, you know, this is what happened. And he kind of was trying to pretend like he was going to take it on the chin for a while, like he was just going to let himself take the blows and move on. But I really don't think he handled it very well. And the proof is that since then, that's the point where he's just gone off the deep end. Not one time has he extended any ounce of understanding or any kind of engaged in anything good faith, ever tried to, you know, reasonably have any kind of serious discussion with anybody. It's just been, like, for example, one thing on Piers Morgan, maybe you didn't notice this, Jack Posobiec was on there. One of the guys that does the show with Charlie Kirk, did the show on the weekends with Charlie Kirk. And Jack, of course, was, you know, sounded like shit, but he was trying to, you know, be there and represent what was going on. He got asked a question about the shooter and if it was obvious that his ideology was left. And he said, well, yeah, of course, look at the bullet casing that said, you know, hey, fascist, catch. You know what Destiny's rebuttal was? That wasn't even the one that was fired, you dumbass. That wasn't even the bullet that was fired. Oh, man. Got him there. Wow. Damn. Jeez. I bet Jack feels like an idiot after that. No, he told him to shut the fuck up. But honestly, imagine how depraved you are to have to and he's laughing like he just got him. Like, oh man, what a moron! You didn't even know a bullet killed my friend. This guy is a sick, twisted piece of shit. And you know, I wouldn't psychoanalyze because honestly, I don't think I could do it. I don't have the credentials to do it. But there's a guy who comes on the stream. Now, it's an old clip, and it's a guy that not many people are fond of these days. I don't know what the hell happened to this guy, except I remember that he got into a big spat with the people that he used to be friends with. They all parted ways. They ended up getting angry and taking shots at each other, and I haven't seen him since. But he was in his 50s, so I'm assuming he moved on to, you know, other things that he was passionate about. He probably has tons of interest. I know he was interested in film and camera work before doing videos on YouTube and things like that. So But his tag was Coach Red Pill, and one thing he was known for was that he would set up about 4 or 5 cameras in different positions, and would shoot all his videos from those different angles. And they were always crazy different angles. Like he'd have one that was directly to his side. He'd have one that was from a low angle. He would have one that was maybe even from behind, pointing out. You know, like he'd have all kinds of different setups, and it was a cool way of shooting video. It's where he got his name, Coach Posting. But he jumps on this show where Destiny's debating someone else, Dick Masterson, who's also a guy. I've heard some of his. He didn't exactly go to a very good place. I think he's like an alcoholic now or something. I know that the guy hosting the show is an alcoholic, but anyway, point is that regardless of those guys, the point is that the guy who's Coach Red Pills, the guy who's calling in and is talking to Destiny. This just shows you. This was from about 2016 or so. No, it had to have been 2017, I think. Now, bear in mind, this discussion that he's in before this, the discussion is about how he doesn't think incest should be outlawed, but it just grosses him out. So yeah, that hell of a way to that's Destiny, but he tries to, you know, his tactics are always to red herring, or bait and switch, or change subject or whatever. He's constantly using scummy debate tactics to try and throw these things out, but it's still ultimately, if you think back to a debate, it's about how he doesn't think incest should be illegal. And it's a fucking ridiculous debate. But the guy calls in, he has a pretty good, solid understanding of what's going on here. And it's basically a diagnosis. And I think it's pretty spot on for a guy as depraved as Destiny. So that's what I have to show you guys. So let's just get into this. This will be the end for the show today. And I think this is a pretty appropriate way, because this is one of these guys that's so absolutely just beyond disrespectful since this happened. And it's just to give you one more example of Destiny's depravity. After Trump got shot and, you know, they accidentally hit that firefighter, Corey Compatore, Destiny went on his show and said that he laughed at that guy. He deserved it for being there. And if any of his fans had been there and gotten shot, he'd laugh at them too, because they're all stupid MAGA Republican morons, and they all are too stupid to even understand that this guy's a complete narcissistic dictator and blah, blah, blah. So, yeah, that's the kind of guy we're talking about here. And so if you were holding out any ounce of sympathy for a guy like this, just save yourself the time and the emotional energy, and don't, because he's not deserving of it in any way, shape, or form. But in any case, this is actually a very good, solid discussion of exactly what this guy is about. So without further ado, let's get into this. I'll turn the camera back on, see how long it lasts, and hopefully it lasts long enough to get to the end of this. So, yeah, here we go. It's not a super long clip, but it's a little bit longer than the last one. Yeah. I'll just try to let this play all the way through mostly. It's just them talking back and forth. So, here, let me, that. Okay.
I'm probably talking out of my ass, but it seems to me that you try to undercut every argument and try to destroy any possibility of developing any kind of truth, because you want to show everybody that you're the smartest guy in the room. Because probably, growing up, maybe people didn't think you were very clever, or maybe you weren't able to get the credentials that you thought you deserved. But it just seems to me that you're just trying to show off how clever you are by destroying. And that I find objectionable.
I understand you, but when I'm in conversations with people like you, everything I do is going to look like I'm showing off my intelligence because
it's that you're not very smart. You're just being able to Google stuff and repeat a definition that you read does not mean that you're intelligent, Destiny.
Definitions. We're having basic conversations about logical structures here. Like,
yeah, okay. So tell me what abductive logic is.
I don't know what the fuck abductive logic is. I don't even know what the fuck.
Google it and repeat it. Now you'll know.
Any of my right now. Right? You're asking me, here was the original question 50 million lines of dialogue ago you asked me. You said, how can you think that incest is creepy but still argue it's morally neutral? This is why I asked you what the difference is between a descriptive statement and a normative statement. So descriptively, that is a statement of fact about the world. I can say, Stephen does not like incest. However,
Stephen, I have your number. I have your number.
I don't care.
You're insecure and you're trying to show off.
Is this an SAT question?
I don't give a fuck. Everyone has my fucking number.
That's who you are.
I don't fucking
sorry, man. I can't take seriously somebody who just wants to show off that they're smart.
He really can't handle me even stating a single argument.
Dude. See, you're smarter than me, and you're a better debater than me. Does that make you happy?
A better debater.
Yeah, I'll concede that you're smarter and that you're a better debater than me. Everybody knows that I suck at debating. Okay, but the fact of the matter is,
you're doing pretty good,
I recognize an insecure little guy who wants to show up that he's smart and he's got some sort of power because he feels powerless in the world. He feels powerless, and he recognizes that he has been pushed aside by the world, and he found a little niche where he impresses people, and people think that he's smart, but he's not. And you only destroy. You don't build anything. That's why people despise you.
How I'm going to be able to do it,
Stephen? I hope for your sake that you change, because you're going to have a very lonely life, man.
Well, I'll give credit where credit's due. I mean, first off, you came on this show. There's a lot of lefties that just won't come on this program.
They skipped ahead.
Well, I mean, look, I understand. It is what it is. But
literally, he was threatening it. Here's a funny thing.
No, wait, what did Coach? No, wait a minute. What did Coach threaten to do? Hold on.
Trying to dox me.
I don't think so. I mean, what do you mean dox you? Everybody knows who you are already.
He told me to be careful because he has my number.
No, that's not what he meant. Are you serious?
Wait, really?
No, that's not what he meant. Are you serious? I mean, look, I understand. It is what it is. But
literally, here was threatening to. Here's a funny thing that.
No, wait, what did Coach? No, wait a minute. What did Coach threaten to do? Hold on.
Trying to dox me.
I don't think so. I mean, what do you mean dox you? Everybody knows who you are already.
He told me to be careful because he has my number.
No, that's not what he meant. Are you serious?
Wait, really?
I think he meant your number as in
that's
debating.
Not what he meant.
Your
he
debate
had your
style.
Destiny, come on, you can't be real right now.
Okay, maybe he
had your number.
Maybe he was doing it. Maybe
dude, Coach Red Pill's like 50 years old. He meant he had your number. That's an old saying. Like, I have your number. I know what you are.
Maybe.
Oh, come on.
Come on, dude.
Wait, you're joking.
Wonder if he
joking
had his
right
numbers
now, right?
up. If he would have thought that meant that. That everybody was posting his number online.
No, dude, he was just saying, I have your number. I know who you are. And not that he literally had your number.
Oh, man. I wonder sometimes if you guys do a lot of dog in here.
No.
Oh, shit.
I just want to talk to this guy for just a second.
Destiny.
No, I don't want to. All you do is fucking talk at me. I didn't get to respond to a single thing you said last time.
Okay, well, wait. Wait.
No, you just said that I was going to dox
video. Yeah, I misunderstood. I have your number like a fucking mirror.
I know your number. I know who you are. And when you lose, like you lost now, you start.
Here we go. This is where he takes the gloves off.
You are getting hysterical now, saying that I was threatening to dox you.
Wait, when you say you have my number, you're just using that like as a phrase, right? Not like you have my phone number.
I don't even know where you fucking live.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, I misunderstood you. I thought when you said like.
You think I would care? You fucking loser.
You care enough to comment to a fucking Google? How can you say?
I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you.
Here in the fucking hangout.
Well, Destiny. Wait. Hold on.
Nothing.
Not only do
I will tell you who you are.
the stream after
you're a man who always got the shit kicked out of him because
and while you do that, you say you don't care. How do you even reconcile?
You're getting hysterical, Stephen. Calm down. Take your pills.
Listening to
Take
the
your little pills and calm down while I tell you
heard me
who
bring
you
you up.
are.
All right, wait.
I gotta give him a word.
You're a guy who got the
I'm not
shit
gonna let him
kicked out of him all his life.
I'm gonna
Guys,
take him.
The only
Guys,
thing he
can
had
we
going
talk
for him-
one at a time? Go ahead,
Sure.
Coach. Yes.
Because the only thing you had going for you was that you were able to solve Rubik's cubes and be annoying to people.
I'm not gonna lie. I
And you
don't know how to
grew
solve
up,
Rubik's
and
Cube.
what did you become? A guy who just annoys for the sake of annoying so as to prove that he's the smartest guy in the room.
That's literally.
You think that I haven't met guys like you before?
Are you like a psychologist? Do you do these diagnoses?
No, I'm just an old fart who's seen a lot. That's who I am.
Diagnosis?
I know who you are. I've
Wait,
seen guys like you before. I don't know who you are in the literal sense, and you know that I'm not talking in a literal sense.
Are you undermining my epistemic framework using adductive logic? Holy shit.
Abductive, you imbecile. Abductive, not adaptive.
I said adductive. Are we done with this? Who's the next
I
caller?
know who you are, and I'm going to tell you something.
Oh, here we
Your
go.
life is going to be filled with bitterness, and you're going to have nothing in your life, okay? And you're going to, and I'll tell you this.
Yeah.
I'll lay odds 3 to 5.
3 to 5.
You off yourself by the time you're 45.
Oh, Coach!
45. Three,
Oh.
not 1 to 2 odds. 3
No.
to 5 odds. I like very specific there. I almost want to ask you, like, what is like your? How do you get your Bayesian analysis? Where do you get to that 3 to 5? That exact fucking.
Because I knew a couple of guys just like you. One committed suicide. The other had a nervous breakdown.
What the fuck?
So, that was essentially. Now I know maybe that's not like some kind of hardcore own of Destiny. However, first off, it's pretty accurate about his life being lonely for a long time, because now he has to go around and basically appear at any forum where there's a debate and spurg out like a fucking asshole to have some kind of modicum of self-respect, I guess. But he actually is literally just doing this, obviously, because, like I said, he got laughed off the face of the fucking internet because of the fact that he was so proud of his open marriage, and then gets ditched for a guy in Norway who was railing his wife because that made them stronger. And all of a sudden, he turns into this short fuse guy on a freaking platform of knowledge and debate tactics that are just using reason and knowledge and complex understanding of difficult topics, and we're trying to work these things out. You've seen Destiny argue. He does nothing but, like I said, throws out red herrings, gotchas. His whole debate is about trying to undercut everybody else's debate by throwing out like hypotheticals that have nothing to do with the situation, or turning a situation into something that is completely unrelated so he can make a point that to basically demean someone's character as opposed to actually argue the point. And it's essentially to throw people off of their train of thought, off of their line of reasoning, and to get them onto his. And I'd say that was pretty spot on. And because when you have a guy who is saying that Trump is responsible for the level of violence in this country, it's Trump's fault that we're in such a high level of political violence in this country, and if Trump would just do the responsible thing and come out and condemn political violence from the right, then all of this would go away. But he won't do that because he's a terrible leader and a horrible president, and everyone knew this was going to happen, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, everyone did know this was going to happen, Destiny. You know why? Because they knew your party. They knew what it did the last time he was in office, and it had nothing to do with him. Not even George Floyd had anything to do with him. You guys were already advocating to abolish the police, defund the police, or according to Ilhan Omar, we need to completely dismantle the police. These people are so up their own ass constantly. They have no understanding of the outside world or anything they're advocating for, which is why it's fine that, that judges let this guy out over and over again, even though he was clearly psychotic and violent, so that he could murder a young girl who was a Ukrainian refugee in cold blood on a train and walk up and down the train car with a knife dripping in fucking blood saying, got that white girl, got that white girl. Was that because of Trump too, Destiny? Was that all Trump's fault? He was turning the rhetoric up too high? Was that it? No, I don't think that was it. I think it has to do with people on your side and their quote-unquote progressive agenda of cashless bail and how the criminals are really victims too of a system that just is trying to keep them in a cycle of violence. And I'm sure they put the words in his mouth too, didn't they? Yeah, it's all their fault. It's everybody else's fault. It's always everybody else's fault, isn't it, Destiny? Because unfortunately, it can never be the left. It can never be liberals. It can never be people on your side. Your side advocates for peace. So in short, go fuck yourself. And, I hope your wife's doing well. Other than that, I'll leave it there. Sorry. I had to kind of impromptu do a lot. I didn't expect this to go this long. Not even close. But thanks for sticking with me, you guys. Like I said, tomorrow I'm gonna take the day to recalibrate a few things. I need to fix a few things, obviously, and get some things prepared for next week. But I will be attempting to go live on Tuesday because the last two streams I've gotten back into the groove, and I've really felt the fun aspect of doing this again, and so really looking forward to it. So on Tuesday I'll be back. I'm really trying to make it earlier, guys. I just, as I said before, I get something that comes in late and I want to put it in, and then I end up trimming it and it takes forever, and because I find something else, and then so I'll try to do better. I'll try to just I probably should just stop watching videos after a certain point in the day to make sure that I don't do that. But yeah, I'll try to make it earlier if I can. But other than that, I will be here on Tuesday for sure. So, once again, thank you for everybody who's watching. I really appreciate it, as always. But thank you, guys. I'll see you next time. And until then, take care of yourselves and have a good one. Peace.
Now, I can't read it. There's no words on it.
Okay. Ready? Sure.
There's no words there. To play us out. What does that mean? To play us out.
Okay.
What is...
For credits.
I don't know what that means, to play us out. What does that mean? To end the show?
Yeah.
All right, go.